So if you're trading away apparently 3 years of your draft with only one actual pick, you do that if you think you have a chance. To your view, does this team have a chance to actually win it? Is this worth it for the Clippers? Like, how good are they actually on the floor?
That is the literally $100 million question because that's going to be their luxury tax bill, right? I they took three dead money contracts basically, or near dead certainly, and turned it into a all-star, near all-star caliber guard. I think one of the biggest things with the Clippers is that they just have been plagued by a lack of good passing, and Harden obviously is a cure for that. However, positionally, maybe not ideal because he's so ball dominant, needs it in his hands. And Kawhi tends to play that way, and Paul George tends to play that way. Now, Paul George could be an awesome floor spacer for the other two guys, so that's probably less of a worry. It's how do you get Harden and Kawhi interplay? Can you have Kawhi be a screener? Can he function well in that role? Are there other little wrinkles that Ty Lue can put in? And then I think the other interesting piece of this is that I don't think either team is done yet. Everyone in this trade can be aggregated in another deal before the trade deadline because it happened early enough. So you wonder.
Yeah,
I mean,
it happened before Omer Ashik Memorial Trade Aggregation Day.
yes, exactly.
Since Daryl is involved.
exactly. No, I have to laugh at the Rockets. Excuse me, at the Sixers and Daryl doing this deal before the aggregation deadline, so to speak, because every year they'd be calling everyone in the league trying to basically trying to set up a fake trade deadline of the aggregation deadline and trying to get deals done by the aggregation date. And I think most of the teams they called were like, yeah, actually we don't really care that much about this deadline.
Yeah.
But the Rockets certainly did, so that was entertaining. So yeah, everyone in this deal can be moved on again, which obviously with the guys the Sixers got, I think helps because they can aggregate those deals different ways. And then this is the last year you can do that, remember, if you're a tax team. So I think for both the Clippers and the Sixers, this deal is going to be impossible next year. I think this is
or if you're a second apron team, we should say.
Yeah, certainly with the Clippers. Yeah. I mean, this type of move, we've seen it with some of these other teams. They're trying to get in before the buzzer almost on blockbuster deals like this because they're not going to be able to do it once the teeth of the CBA really hit these second apron teams in June of 24. So I still don't know how good this team actually is. Is it a conference finals team? Is it good enough to beat Phoenix? I mean, they won game one in Phoenix a year ago. I'm sure they probably look at that and say, when we have Pete Kawhi, we can play with anybody as long as we amass enough regular season wins to get like a halfway decent seed. So I'm sure they're looking at that. I still think I still don't know what their answer is to genuine size. And I don't think PJ Tucker at this point is viable as a small ball five the way he was in Houston. I don't see that as an end game. I think too many teams now have decided to completely disregard him in the corner, and he just can't make them pay anymore. But you can still do stuff with that contract, with Zubats, with other guys if they want to go out and get another big, a better big. They don't have a lot of draft assets. They still do have Bones Highland, who probably isn't going to be playing much anymore. So they still have some things they can do. And it's going to be interesting to see the next move for both Philadelphia and the Clippers. That was the thing I wrote about today, that next move is probably the thing that determines how quote-unquote successful each of these sides are.
Yeah, so in terms of assets, the Clippers have left in the kitty here. They've got a 2030 first. Doesn't sound like they have their 29 swap to move anymore, though they could do the swap down even further Phoenix move. So maybe, but you pick up some seconds there. They've got Kobe Braun, who is their first rounder this year, they kept out of this deal. And of course, the greatest trade asset in NBA history, Terrence Mann, who might be get you a first here as well.
Three firsts, come on.
So they did a lot, and he's important to them too because they need someone who's going to be able to guard the ball and play some transition as well. So I'm not saying he necessarily needs to be moved, but let me react to one more thing. I want to ask you, kind of what you think they need. I think PJ Tucker might be one of the better guys I would want actually guarding Nikola Jokic. Now, as you noted, he's getting a little older, and how much is he going to be respected in the corner? But he'll at least stand there. And Harden, if anyone knows how to use him reasonably well, like I don't think that like PJ Tucker's inability to shoot is why the Sixers lost that series last year to Boston. Like I thought he was good enough, and maybe he's not going to play as much, but he actually can kind of get underneath opposing post players like an AD. I think he could guard an AD pretty well. Also, if you need to kind of go one-on-one, and then in that Murray Jokic game, maybe he can switch on to Murray at least a little bit. Now, again, like he could just be done. He's the second oldest player in the NBA. That wouldn't shock me. But I kind of understand that like he can give them something there. Or at least has a chance to give them something. So I think they're better equipped now to deal with a Jokic or an AD than they were before. But from your perspective, then we talked about what their assets are. Like they got enough to go get another significant piece if they wanted to. What sort of what is their biggest need to you at this point then?
I think they need a big that they trust in a playoff game. I just don't think they can do this shit with five smalls and
so Zubats is not that guy to you?
I don't think Zubats is that guy. So
what's wrong with him?
It's not that he's terrible. It's just that the bar goes up and as you get in a playoff series, and it sort of excludes him as you go on. Where he's,
he can't play 20 minutes a game.
I think you play 20 minutes a game. I think what's happened in the other 28? You're playing like Kawhi at 5.
I agree. Yeah.
Tucker at 5, or I guess I don't have a lot of belief in that. I also think they're going to have to rejigger some things. I don't like Russell Westbrook as the fourth starter with these other three guys. I think it would be completely misused, right? You want somebody who's got like a low usage sniper playing with Harden, Leonard, and Paul George. The last thing you want is Russell Westbrook. He has to come off the bench, right? There's no way they can continue with him as a starter.
Well, I'm guessing they're going to at least try it. Like, this is one of those things where they're going to need to at least prove that it's not working before they change it. I would be very surprised if he and James Harden are not starting together the first game that they play together, which is obviously insane. But given Russ's inability to shoot the ball.
Yeah.
My thought on what they need, I think they just need more shooting. And I think because you have James Harden, now you're really kind of forced to switch a lot. And they have PJ Tucker is a great fit with them to do that. Also, in some minutes, Kawhi, PG, in theory, can do some of that. Now, can you do that against Nikola Jokic? It's not going to be great, but you're not going to stop Nikola Jokic anyway. And so that's why I think they need more shooting. Like, their offensive upside, to me, just isn't quite high enough against Denver. And maybe James Harden can just be that good of a passer. Like, certainly that top three is good enough from an offensive upside standpoint to keep up with Denver. But I think they're just not going to generate enough 3-pointers and make enough for the math to work out for them, I don't think, unless they get more shooting on this roster somehow.
Bring back Luke Kennard.
But obviously that guy also needs to be able to defend and switch a little bit. So I think, like, to me, they're looking for Nicolas Batum and Marcus Morris from 3 years ago. That's what they're looking for.
That's the real problem with what happened with the Clippers, right? Like, all these guys, Batum, Morris, Covington, like, they just aren't the guys they were. I think Covington, the Sixers may be able to recycle some value there, but still. Like,
you don't think Batum? Batum, you think he's done?
What level of done? Like, Can he be
Yeah,
the eighth or ninth,
play the same
best
role.
player on? Sure.
I think he actually could be their closing power forward, possibly. Like he can't play that many minutes, but like he shoots it well enough. They desperately need some more passing. Again, you never know with these old guys. Like, is this the year that they're done? I thought he had some like pretty good moments in that Utah game when he was playing small ball 5 there. And quite frankly, that's what Ty Lue wants to do in the end. So I think to try to get there is what they need to do. I mean, especially, if they go up against the Warriors, like, do you really like, is Ivica Zubac going to help you that much against them? Like, probably not. Right. So I think they do need to come up with a way to switch defensively and just get a little more shooting on the floor. And that's sort of that combo forward type of guy. And they do have the ammo to go get someone like that. We'll see who it is. Hey, Norm Powell for Jeremy Grant.
Send it back to Portland. That would be funny.
I mean, Jeremy Grant, I think, would be like a pretty nice fit with what these guys are doing. Although another guy who probably wants the ball more than he should. But yeah, it's like, this is all going to be fascinating. The Russ Harden thing in particular is going to be absolutely fascinating. But yeah, I mean, I guess so. If you're trading away, apparently 3 years of your draft with only one actual pick, you do that if you think you have a chance. To your view, does this team have a chance to actually win it?
I mean, they have a chance of some kind. Do they have a? Are they truly in tier A?
Well, we're making the assumption. This is what we'll make the assumption, right? Because the injuries, yeah, you're concerned about that. Like, odds are one of these 3 guys is not going to be fully healthy in the playoffs and effective. But we'll say, all right, you get the James Harden from last year, and you get the way Kawhi and PG have looked this year, and you get this team. Maybe you can make another smaller move. Like, is that? That's not a favorite, right? But that's a team that could do it.
Is it a puncher's chance? I think maybe it is, just because Kawhi, like, even in game 1 of that Phoenix series last year, he just kicked their ass. Like, the peak version of Kawhi is still a guy who could win a playoff series by himself, right? So
yeah. Now, can he win 4?
Yeah, exactly. For a period of 2 months. That's
but maybe he won't have to too. And also, he doesn't need to win 4 by himself. If you get a high enough seed, that maybe your first round series at least are not going to be too bad.